The NFL stands for not for long.
Set, Sharga and Armstead. Roll out, Walker still running out. Looks to the left, wide open, Thompson touchdown. Colin Thompson with the touchdown. There was nobody within 20 yards of
What a catch off the bobble. Colin Thompson scoops it up.
Lofting corner, the end zone. It is caught for the touchdown. The first NFL touch for Colin Thompson is a score.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Colin Thompson Show, presented by our company, our parent company here, Not For Long Media. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Everything we do here, as you know, it's the Fudge Kitchen, fudgekitchens.com, shipping fudge and sweet treats around the country. Fudgekitchens.com. Check them out. All right, so we have breaking news here at Not For Long Media, the Colin Thompson Show, a new YouTube series. And honestly, we're going to be transitioning all our Not For Long stuff to this new series. Food, drinks, football. I've been working on this thing in my mind, on paper, typing it out, figuring it out. It's really all the things I like to do, the things that encompass me: travel, funds, friends, camaraderie, celebrating the good times. Food, drinks, football is going to be that. It's going to be a YouTube series. You're going to see features from bars and restaurants. You're going to see features from our youth camp held in Key West, Florida every year. You're going to see breakdowns from me. You're going to see friends from inside the league coming on the show. We featured a bunch of bars and restaurants in Key West, Florida, in Tampa, in Houston, in North Jersey. Awesome times talking to different patrons, bartenders, owners, peeling back the history of each town, peeling back the history of these bars and restaurants. It was an absolute blast. It's going to be coming out here in November, and all our Not For Long Media social media platforms will be transitioning to food, drinks, football. This podcast will be transitioning to food, drinks, football. Again, encompassing kind of me, the media company, my friends, my family, and the good times. So thank you for support. We really appreciate it. And again, hope you guys really love the show. Food, drinks, football. Check it out on YouTube, coming out here soon in November. So that's the update on food, drinks, football. Again, I really appreciate everybody's support throughout my media career. Everyone's, been so awesome, honestly, on the field, off the field. Hopefully my NFL career isn't coming to an end, but it feels like it is. We'll see what happens here in the next month. Hopefully sign somewhere for a playoff run. If not, it will be a wrap. It will be a wrap here, a month or two to the season ends, and I'll be transitioning to kind of what's next. Stay tuned for that. So that's it with food, drinks, football. Let's see what else we got. We got a little Eagles update. So the Eagles win over a pesky Giants team that I think is pretty good and better than people think. But I saw a lot of really good things from the Eagles. First off, Jalen Hurts getting under center, keeping the offense simple. They got a fullback in there. They got tight ends in the game. They're running the football, handing the ball off. They're taking free access, easy throws to the outside. Defensively, some pressure. Not a ton, but just enough to get one-on-one for the defensive line, for the blitzing linebackers. You saw the host of guys involved: Nakobe Dean, Nolan Smith, Carter, Huff, Sweat, right? Like, that's when the Eagles have been best. They have this kind of group that leads to a bunch of sacks, not just one guy. So that was good to see out of the Eagles there. Holistically, I saw a little bit more of an identity of physicality from the football team. And their run coming up here, they have a real chance to continue to kind of get out of the muddied waters of the NFC. And really, this Eagles team is going to be graded on how they finish this season, right? Like, okay, great. But when we get to like week 10, 11, 12, how do you finish really matters. So an impressive win for the Eagles against the Giants on the road. They'll have tests moving forward. But I like how the Eagles team's coming together defensively and then offensively, making the game simpler for Jalen and the offense. Hand the ball off, play action pass. And this week and next week, there's going to be either a throw to that fullback, there's going to be some sort of trick play off of it. You can build off those plays with the fullback and the tight end. They're easy to scheme up. Every coordinator's got 5, 6, 7 different play action passes off those simple runs. So I love the wrinkle from the Eagles getting the fullback involved in the game plan. We have Mike Gill join the show. I don't want to bury the lead. Mike came on. Great job. 97.3 ESPN South Jersey. Again, download the app. He does a great job. You listen to Mike here in a little bit. But just a couple news and notes from me around the NFL. All right, guys. Appreciate, again, your support here at Not For Long Media. Food, drinks, football. Check that out. That's coming soon. Mike Gill, kind of an all Eagles episode today. So check out Mike on the other side. Again, 97.3 ESPN. Appreciate your support of the Colin Thompson Show. Appreciate our friends at the original Fudge Kitchen, fudgekitchens.com, shipping fudge and sweet treats around the country. Shout out. Enjoy Mike Gill, guys. All right, Mike Gill's joining the show, as we know, brought to you by the original Fudge Kitchen, fudgekitchens.com, shipping fudge and sweet treats across the country. Ocean City, Stone Harbor, Wildwood, Cape May, right in the heart where Mike is. Mike, down to Jersey Shore, 97.3 ESPN, my favorite Philly sports talk show. Check out Mike, download the 97.3 ESPN app. Mike, what's up, brother?
All is good, man. Fall season down the shore, 80 degrees down here this weekend. It feels like summertime at the shore.
And people are like, my favorite thing, Mike, with the fall is, like, even this weekend down here at Annapolis, right, which is just straight across. It's just west of Cape May by 80 miles, like direct line. It's 75 here. Beautiful. People are dying to be in fall gear, jeans and flannels. I'm like, they're sweating their asses off. I'm like, it's still t-shirt and shorts weather. Like, that's, people want to, like, pumpkin spice everything. It's like, hold on, easy. Everyone wishes this cold weather here. I'm like, once the daylight savings stuff kicks in, I'm officially pissed. I'm ready for the holidays, and then I'm getting the hell out of here. I hate it.
Daylight savings needs to go. We need to abolish this. 2 weekends ago, I took the ferry over to Dewey and hung out down there. It was mobbed down there. The beach there wasn't a place to sit on the beach. It was packed. This past weekend was down in Stone Harbor. Not a parking spot to be had. Felt like a summer Saturday down the shore. So it doesn't feel like football, but here we are in week 8.
Week 8, Mike. It's flown by. I joined your show weekly, 2:30s on Tuesdays. You have great guests. For those like, listen to, all the Philly shows. I got the callers and, Carson Wentz or Nick Foles, 610. Mike's not doing that stuff. He's having some good conversation. And it's a local show too, Mike. So you do a great job with the sports, but also local, like food, restaurant, drinks, and then local high school sports you shout out too. So appreciate you having me on. It's been awesome. All right, Mike, let's talk Eagles. Listen, there's lots to talk about. I've been on this show before, and I kind of cover my ass, but I do believe in it. You have an owner that's one of the best in the league. You have, if not the best, right? People love Jeffrey Lurie, especially the players, right? They're fed well, transportation, this, that. Like, that stuff matters, man. Owners matter. And now, for those that don't know, as I digress on this, players, our union, the best thing they've done is allow players to vote and grade everything that happens, from nutrition to how you're fed to how you travel to the weight room to the owner. So it's a big deal. So owners now are invested in teams. So you have a great owner. You have a head coach that's been hot as hell coming out of the gates, right? Took them to the Super Bowl. They should have won the Super Bowl, right? Let's be real. Pretty close. Good game against KC. Lost by 3, I believe. Jalen Hurts that year was unstoppable. Really. It was ridiculous. The team was not as talented as they are now, in my opinion. You got everything you need. GM that's dynamic and one of the best really ever. But they've struggled. They have not looked the same, Mike, since that Super Bowl. I've been saying it, but, I think they took care of business against a better Giants team than people believe. People don't want to believe that the Giants are any good. That's a solid team. You saw the D-line give some issues. You saw Daniel Jones be solid at times. They don't have really too many dynamic guys running around out there. So your overall assessment, Mike, from the 10,000-foot view of, like, where this organization is right now.
It's an interesting. They're 4-2. Does this feel like a 4-2 team? No, it feels like a team that has, still more growing to do. And what is that a byproduct of? I think Fangio's getting more comfortable with his personnel on defense. He's getting a little bit more creative. You saw more of him, using Nakobe Dean in the blitzing role. That's something that he feels a little bit more comfortable in. I think adding Cooper into that slot, he's kind of moving him and kind of using him in different ways. And look, Bryce Huff, they signed him to $51 million. He won a couple one-on-ones, got to the quarterback. You need that stuff. So I think their defense still has a ceiling to reach. Offensively, I don't know what this team wants to be. I was asking the question yesterday, where are they without Saquon Barkley? And if the question is not very good, is the answer to your question that your identity should be you're a run-first team? It's hard to say that when you've got Brown and Smith and Goddard, of course, out. Their offense just has not been healthy. So it's really hard to assess with new coordinator, injuries, of what this offense is. Without Saquon Barkley, they're in some big trouble. But with the personnel they have, like, you've been in those rooms when you're game planning, now you probably haven't played with a receiver to the ilk of A.J. Brown.
DJ Moore, pretty good.
Okay, not quite A.J. Brown, but he's got 2 initials.
Yeah.
Good try.
Yeah. He's
But
close. He's getting paid the same. He's getting paid the same.
Well,
I think if
but you
if he has the quarterback, he's a different guy. Yeah.
Right. Well, but you did play with a running back who was an ilk
yeah.
of Saquon Barkley. And how that game plan gets put together of, hey, I got this guy and I got this guy, and then I also have this guy. How do I game plan this? And to what I've been trying to say is, and see if you agree, disagree, or it's just not that way, Mike Gill. The star of this team, to me, is their offensive line. Their problem is they want the star to be the guys they're paying big money. AJ, Devontae, Saquon. You can't make those guys the star until you decide the real star of this team is the offensive line. And then that opens up things for those guys to be the stars that they are. I think the one guy who is kind of not holding them back a little is the quarterback. Somebody said, hey, he's not turning the ball over. I think he's not turning the ball over because he looks kind of indecisive. He looks like everything he does is in slow motion. Everything looks like he's stuck in cement. When he tries to roll out, it's slow. When he tries to make a decision, it's slow. The only thing he feels comfortable with is a couple throws down the field, and you can't rely on that. So I think offensively, they're still trying to figure out, because of the amount of stars they have, I think they're still trying to figure out what the heck they want to be offensively, and they're growing defensively. Now, in the Pantheon at 4-2, there's a muddled field. It's Detroit and everybody chasing them. Minnesota, I think, has emerged as a true contender. San Francisco's in a ball of trouble with the injuries that they have. This NFC is wide open, and I think Philly's just kind of lingering in there somewhere right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams in that pot. I agree, Mike Gill. The star of the show for the Eagles is the offensive line, and there's some times where you're like, what are you doing? Why aren't you making them the star? Think about this in teams around the league, though, that don't even have like really, really elite offensive lines. Arizona, New Orleans, like they're running the ball on people. They are making the O-line the star of the show. Why? Right? Look at Baltimore. Before they took off, everyone's like, their O-line's a problem. They can't pass pro. Okay, great. We're just going to run block and run play action pass. Like you saw when the Eagles got in 22 personnel, 21 personnel, and they brought the fullback in who's a linebacker, and you saw the development of plays that happened off of it. It's simple. Hey, Jalen, if we're going to play action pass off of this, you got 2 reads. Fake the ball in the running back's belly, pull it out, throw the over route, or rip it to A.J. Brown on the out route, or hand the ball to the back. Simple offense, simple plays. I think when you have a quarterback like him, you're trying to put him in the best spot for success, which forces him into space and non-situations where he needs to be urgent, and he's really not playing with urgency, to your point, Mike.
Well, you said something simple. We got to a point where all these offenses became so convoluted and complicated. I think simple is what we're going back to.
Yes.
You put in all these college-level offenses to try to outdo the pros, and that kept them off balance. Well, now the defenses have adjusted to the RPO and, the spread, so defenses have catered their personnel to spread. The linebackers are really small. They're putting more, corners and safeties on the field. Yep. So now these teams are saying, you went with that, we got to simplify it and go back to this.
Look at the Chargers.
Right.
Chargers are like 4 tight ends.
Exactly. Last night, every throw's to a tight end. Shout out Greg Roman, Ventnor, New Jersey.
Greg looks
take
great.
A look at, but you got these teams running offset eyes, counters. Simplify these offenses and say, if you're going to run a 220-pound linebacker out there, I'm going to run the ball at that guy.
They only put one of them on the field. Like to your point, Mike, they put the nickel corner or nickel safety, nickel Sam. They bring all these guys in, right, to play coverage. And they're like, oh, we're going to hope this 195, 205-pound guy is tough enough to shed a block.
Yeah. And like you talked about, rip it out to Brown. I'm ripping it out to Brown, 570 yards. Let him kind of curl back, catch, reverse field. Who the heck wants to tackle him in the open field? No offense to any defensive player in this league. Nobody can tackle. Nobody can tackle in this league consistently. All right, you might tackle him once. You might tackle him twice. You might tackle him a third time. But guess what? One of those, he's slipping out of that, and he's breaking it. So everything you know, I when I look at what Tampa Bay did to Philadelphia, you wonder why aren't more teams just 1, 2, 3, bang, 1, 2, 3, bang, and letting these guys. You have stars, Brown and Smith. Let those guys be stars. You
You
know,
saw
like
it this week a couple times, Mike. Like Jalen took they call it what they call it, Mike, is free access, right? And this is just like a football nerd way. So there's a separate play, okay? And if if the receiver, if the DB is like 6 to 8 yards off, by the time the receiver presses up on him and he starts to backpedal, he's like 8 to 10 yards off the line of scrimmage, and then the receiver breaks out. How many times we've seen Mike Evans do it against the Bucs? You saw it, to your point, against the Eagles. They're starting to take free access. It's called free access throws. You can use this for your show. Free access. So they were just taking it, boom, ripping it, boom. And that's 2nd and 3, 2nd and 4. And then when you're under center, I was like, wow, okay, there's 2nd and 5. Oh, there's a first down. Oh, there's 2nd and 6. Great. Quick little pass. He broke a tackle. So at times with the Eagles this week, I saw Mike when I watched the film again this morning. I was like, you know what? They played some simple football. Like they didn't make it look that hard. And I thought at times they do. And to the point of what Jalen and the urgency. So I was watching and everyone's like, oh, Fred Johnson's getting torn up. So I went back and watched. So I saw Fred. Fred did a great job. First off, Fred's Florida Gator. I've known Fred for a little bit now. He's a good player. And shout out to Howie Roseman. They buried Fred like deep in the roster. Remember last year he got cut, kind of put on IR, signed to a 2-year deal. Like, go back and look at that, Mike. That's a good little nugget for the show, too, of like, how did Fred Johnson come out of nowhere? Like, he was stuffed on the roster. Like, they hid him. So, long story short, he comes in. I watched the tape. He played great. Like, the sacks were either coverage sacks. Jalen did not step up when he had the opportunity to, or when Jalen wanted to step up. The two really good defensive linemen, the D tackles for the Giants, are elite players.
Yep.
The interior 3 for the Eagles, who are good, were getting blown back. So, you know what it is for the Eagles, though? And this is football in general. Everyone takes turn making mistakes. And are they going to get them cleaned up, Mike, to play smoothly in November, December? And to me, that's when it matters.
Yeah, and you know the one thing is they had like it's Devontae Smith had 1 catch for -2 yards. They had 14 pass attempts in the game. They got sacked 4 times. The pass offense was elementary. So you wonder, okay, the running game, 250 plus yards on the ground. Obviously, they can do that. But you got to be able to do both. And you probably have to be able to lean on throwing the ball more. The question is, do they feel comfortable enough to open the playbook for Jalen and say, we need you to do this, this, and this? Or does everything have to be simple? And if everything is simple, is that good enough to win?
Yes, because they can get under center and run outside zone and run counter and just simple plays. Hey, Jalen, this is what you're going to be. If you watch Baltimore, they don't really run a lot of plays. They don't. If you watch those games, truly watch the Ravens, it is run, little jet sweep read, and some sort of creative screen to get it to the back or get it to the receiver. That's it.
Yep.
Like, that's all they do. And then Lamar, in key situations, pulls it because it's like triple option. It's funny. They got rid of Greg Roman. They run the same offense Greg Roman runs. So, Mike, to me, when people say simple, they think, oh, my God, that's Jalen. No, he can do that.
Well, the one difference is that I see anyway, see if you agree. Like last night, okay, Lamar's elite. You just said pull it, take it. Kyler Murray, same thing. That dude's running 22 miles an hour.
Yep.
Jalen looks like he's in quicksand.
He does. But they don't set it up, Mike. They just like run it. They're like, oh, it's 3rd down. Let's run zone read. And you're like, whoa. Like,
At
my
2022,
yeah,
it
he looked
felt
fast.
like
He looked
he
better.
made the right decision on hold it, pull it, give it, keep it. It felt like he made the right decision every time.
Yep.
Now, I don't know if this is a byproduct of defenses have just figured out better ways to defend this, but other teams are doing it. You just mentioned Kyler Murray last night. I mean, he's running all over the place, 44-yard touchdown. Lamar's going all over the place. I mean, there are guys that are running it still at a pretty good level. The Eagles are just not running it, and it's been now all of last year, and now this year, there's just not consistency in that RPO game, where in 2022, him and Miles Sanders, man, they felt like they were on the same page every time.
You're handing it 90% of the time, Jalen. And when you think you're going to pull it, be damn sure you're going to pull it because they do a squeeze replace, right? Dallas used to run it whatever with Sean Lee. You bring the D end inside, and then you wrap the linebacker so the double team can't get to the linebacker. So you'll see the D end. Oh, it looks like he's running with the running back. Oh, wait, there's Sean Lee to make the tackle for loss, right? When in his prime. So, this you're 100% Mike. To me, the answer is simple, 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 and get out of the RPO game. Get out of it because I would get under center. I would cut the field in half. I would have free access throws. It's a shame what's happened to Tampa too. I mean, I know as an Eagle, I'm not an Eagles like supporter, but Eagles fans are like, oh man, I love Baker. I play with him. Guy's unbelievable. Mike Evans is, people respect the hell out of Mike, and he's so underrated down there. Guy's ridiculous. And then Godwin.
They lost Evans and Godwin last night.
Evans will be back. Godwin's like on his last year there. That's a shame. He's a great player, great guy, Penn State. Neither here nor there. All right, Mike, we'll preview a couple games here in the future. Bengals, Jags, Cowboys. Bengals, Jags, Cowboys. The Eagles bye week has come and gone. Bengals, Jags, Cowboys, Commanders, Rams, Ravens, Panthers. That's kind of the next group for the Eagles. My initial take, the Bengals are a way better football team than people think. They'll be a great game on the road. Cincinnati is a cool place to play. Eagles, weather-wise, are probably getting lucky with this stuff early in the year, these type of games. Jags are at home. Dallas is indoors.
They just moved that Jags game from a night game to a
4
4
or 5.
o'clock.
Yeah, it's a 4 or 5-er. Yeah. So those games, Mike, I ran through a couple there. Let's just talk about the Bengals next week. Anything in your notes, jumping out to you, how the Eagles could take advantage of the Bengals?
Oh, listen, I loved Cincinnati coming in. I thought Burrow coming back, and then you've got obviously the weapons there. They tried to beef up the line last year. It didn't work out. They got problems up front still.
Injuries,
They let Mixon go. So their run game, not quite the same, not as dynamic. Mixon was a pretty good pass catcher. And their defense, just not where it was when they were in the Super Bowl a couple years ago. And it just feels like something's been, they play the Giants. You talk about the Giants, they're pesky. They got a good defense. Cincinnati, 17-7 in that game. They just can't break free. And you're thinking, how with Higgins and Chase, can you not get something going? But the offensive line's a problem for them. And when you have line problems in this league, man, it ends up showing more, we're in such a fantasy football world. And you look at Justin Jefferson, who's just awesome. But that team has had no success because their line has been so bad in Minnesota. They have a decent line. The quarterback gets it out quick now. And now they're competent. But Cincinnati's dangerous, big plays, but Vic Fangio's been doing a great job of not giving up the big plays. So this should be an interesting chess match, Vic against Taylor over there, to see if he can keep Chase and Higgins at bay and say, hey, you guys, what Fangio wants to do? He wants to keep you in front. Can they tackle Chase and Higgins and not give up those big plays?
I think they're in the same issue the Eagles are offensively. I think Kansas City, right? When you watch Kansas City play, they're not under center really. They are in that gun, in the pistol, right? They're in Andy Reid's offense, which is nasty. But think about the teams that try to run anything close to it. The Jags have not been great this year. Same tree, Doug Peterson. Matt Nagy, towards the end of his career in Chicago, it's a lot of 5-man protection, and it's a lot of almost hero bar on the outside with receivers. Who's your quarterback making those throws? Who's your O-line blocking for those guys? Do you have 5 guys that are good enough to figure it out in protection and maybe a running back that's good enough? The reason why I say simple, Mike, is guess what? They're paying these edge rushers a ton of money, and teams that are good have a few of them. So I am staying in third and shorts. I am not trying to be too crazy explosive until we have to be, and I am managing the football. When the Eagles play game management football against the Giants, it looks simple. So whatever that word is that's going to be positive and also keep it simple, that's when the Eagles will have success. It's like, oh, Jalen can't do this. A lot of quarterbacks can't lead. Like Joe Burrow in that offense sometimes looks stagnant. It's like third and long all the time when you turn it on. So to me, it's like get under center, run the football, take the heat off your O-line.
Yeah.
Because there's just not that many walking around the planet that are either healthy or elite. It's just not.
And listen, Cincinnati has offensive line problems. Orlando Brown, I think he's hurt now too.
Trent Brown's out too. Big Trent. They brought Trent over from New England. Great player, and he's hurt, out for the year.
Yeah, and Orlando Brown got a calf strain in the game against the Browns on Sunday. So there's another
last
guy
forever
that goes down. Yeah, and these offensive linemen, for Cincinnati, the last year, they went to the Super Bowl with a porous offensive line. Then they tried to do something to it last year. It didn't work. And I think, that's where the kid Mims from Georgia, they drafted him. I mean, young guy. The Eagles had 13 sacks in the last 2 weeks after really struggling. This should be an offensive line that they get more pressure again and try to make Joe Burrow, I love Burrow too, man. It's a shame what's happened with that offensive line, but this should be a matchup where Fangio likes what he sees up front. And he's been doing some different things. The Philly fans, blitz, blitz, blitz. He's not sending the house, but he's picking some spots. It's disguised well, and he's doing some good things with N'Kobe. I think having Dejan has given them a little different look in the secondary to do some things. This should be a win up front for the Eagles, and that's how they like to play defense.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think you bring up great points. And then defensively, too, what they did to your point of Nolan Smith, get Sweat, Huff.
5 different guys had sacks in the first half on Sunday.
N'Kobe Dean, right? Like you said, in space.
Ended up with 2. Huff had 1.
Sweat. Yeah. I think
Carter.
To me, like Carter, great. Like that's what it takes, right? That's why to me, if I'm an offensive coordinator, I'm not getting in those situations. We're not. And the Ravens aren't in those situations. Like, watch the Ravens. They don't have all these assets in O-line. They're not paying a lot of them. Oh, they're paying Ronnie, left tackle, right? Notre Dame, freak. It's like the same thing with Cincinnati. If you're not going to have the Kansas City Chiefs offensive line with the 3 interior guys making a fortune, if you're not going to have the Eagles situation, you can't sit back and gun and try to pick people apart. It's just not going to work. You got to play old school ball. That's why the Vikings are having success. That's why the Packers, the whole NFC North is doing it. That's why. Like the Bears, O-line problems. Great. We're going to run the ball.
It's the basis of what the Giants tried to do, what their messaging was. We can't pay Barkley because we want to start beefing up the offensive line.
They ran the ball okay.
And, Thomas gets hurt. Evan Neal hasn't been, they just haven't been able to find the right guys. But their whole thing was, we're not going to pay him. We'll go get a guy like Singletary. We'll pay him less money. But in the end, their offensive line has been better. Thomas getting hurt really hurt them.
Yeah, no doubt, Mike. I think it's actually the right thing they did. Everyone's Saquon. Dude, you can't. I'm sorry. Like, I think Saquon's the best running back other than C-Mac. Like, one of the best ever. Guy's unbelievable player. But, like, you can't win a Super Bowl with Saquon Barkley and a porous O-line. You just can't. Daniel Jones is good, but not great, right?
Yeah,
so it's
that's where in the end, they put so much money there. Yeah. And this is where we talk about Roseman. The cap hit for Barkley is less than what they're paying the 2 backs in New York. He's making more money, but the cap hit is less than what Singletary and Taylor are making. I think it's like 3.4 against 4.9. So Roseman finds these ways to get them here, pay them money, and the cap hit is low. And this is where the Eagles have that advantage that some teams just they're not. Dallas, for one, is just miserable at figuring out how to manage a cap situation.
And they have no state income tax, and that's a big deal. That's a big deal.
It kills. Dallas is one of the best teams at drafting and finding their own talent, but one of the worst at identifying when to give them that second deal.
I'm not paying CD. I think CD's an elite player, but again,
too late.
I know that, but I've always said it. I'm like, where's how can you build out the rest of your roster? You just can't, and you need layers of depth.
Well, is it not crazy that the Eagles were able to pay both Brown and Smith and Barkley and the quarterback? And by the way, they have paid Mailata, they have paid Dickerson. They have paid Lane's at the end of the deal, and Lane keeps kicking the can down the road on his deal. But how are they figuring out ways? And then, hey, Bryce Huff, here's $51 million. Come on in here and play. They're gonna have to pay Jalen Carter, I would imagine, here soon, probably after somewhere in next year.
Yeah, but it still doesn't look awesome. And I think, to me, when Nick Sirianni, who's on the hot seat, don't get it twisted, how they play in November, December, period. If they limp in the playoffs, he's probably, I would assume, I don't wish it upon him, would be let go. And then I think, to me, it's the best job in football available. Like, it doesn't look pretty. And that's, to me, what's scary with that roster.
Yeah, I saw a stat yesterday about Sirianni. It's kind of mind-boggling. Since he's been the coach, they have the second-best road record in football.
Yeah.
Kansas City's number 1, Philadelphia's number 2. They win 70% of their games on the road. You know how hard it is to win an NFL road game.
Hard.
And here's a guy who's just getting, criticized left and right, and you wonder, is it overstated, the criticism that this team, but you're saying it what everybody's seeing. They're seeing a team with talent all over the place, and it doesn't look aesthetically pleasing. Does that matter? I think those last 7 games of last year, that sample size is being, like when we grade on a curve, we're grading those 7 games on a curve so greatly that everything else that he has done is being so minimized. And it's unfortunate for him, but guess what? That's the league that you signed up for,
Yeah.
and that's the city that you signed up to coach in. So I don't know what to make of the fact that they're the second best road team since he's been the coach. I don't know what to make of the fact that they're the second best team in football since he's been the head coach. Is it in spite of him? Are they that talented? Like if they brought in, I don't know, if Matt LaFleur or Sean McVay or who's your favorite head coach in the league right now?
Stefanski.
Yeah?
That's my sleeper. I'll leave it at that. On the
Well, that's what I'm saying. If they have, insert your favorite coach.
I just think that offensively, and he's responsible for it. He's the head coach. With that talent, it doesn't mesh at times. At times, it looks like this is a joke. But
so
look
when
at
you're watching them play, are you saying this is Kellen Moore's offense, or are you saying this is Nick's offense?
I think it's an organizational philosophy. This is how we're going to handle Jalen. Now you call the plays and you make the best of it, Kellen Moore.
How do you, like Brian Johnson, apparently, hey, here's Nick Sirianni. I'm Mike Gill. And I say, hey, Colin Thompson, here's my playbook. Call my plays.
I don't think it's that. I just think it's
right,
this is how we want to
they were saying. It has been. It was.
Yeah.
It was.
I think
Nick's
it's just Jalen.
Offense.
I think it's just an organizational. This is how we're going to use Jalen. He's going to be in the gun. And then this week you said, you know what? I've been pounding the table for. Get under center. Get the tight ends on the field. Hand the ball off for 6 yards. Done. It's simple. And guess what's coming next week, Mike? They're going to make a fake, dump it to the fullback in the flat for a touchdown. They're going to make a fake. The fullback's going to go here. Barkley's going to go there. Touchdown. You can build off of that simple set. That's what I'm
funny.
talking.
Yeah, I was going to say, one of the things I didn't see on Sunday, and one of the things I haven't seen at all this year, is building off of plays to set up other plays. I haven't seen a lot of that. And that's like, I know Jalen doesn't like to go under center, and I guess he doesn't like to use them in it. But, like, if you're not showing – like, you have Saquon Barkley. If I'm not under center and using the play action, I'm taking away a weapon – from my arsenal. Like, I have this guy in the backfield that people have to respect, and if I'm not play action with him under center, I could play action with him in shotgun and do a stupid RPO hold, but people are like, okay, you ain't giving him the ball. But if I'm under center and I fake it to him, I at least freeze you long enough that I can get a little window. And I think they're not setting up, hey, you know what, this play's not going to work, but it'll set us up for a play to work in the third quarter.
No doubt. Completely agree, Mike. The great Mike Gill, 97.3 ESPN. Again, check him out on the app. If you people listen all over the country, so download the app. If you're a Philly sports fan, you're going to enjoy it, especially those in Key West who always Philly this, Philly that. Big Philly crew, Mike. Celtic Conch down there. Sea Isle was packed for the Phillies playoff games before they got eliminated, and just a good group of people that I know listen to the show. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you, Mike Gill, for joining. Any lasting remarks, Mike?
Any lasting remarks? Well, I'll give you this.
I know we'll be back on the show again soon.
Well, I'll come back and, I'll say the lasting remark will be, I feel like we're not going to have a feeling on this team until we get into December.
Yep.
Because this, you win a game against Cleveland. You only beat Cleveland. Then they beat the Giants. Well, it's only the Browns. They have a stretch of games here, Cincinnati's tricky. Jacksonville, I think, is tricky. Their roster is better than 2-5. So they're growing as they're going on here. They spent 2 weeks in London. I mean, that's always, and then they play this week. They don't even have a bye coming off the London trip. They're coming back and playing. I think they're in Green Bay this week, or maybe they're at home against Green Bay. But still, so I think this team still has a lot of things that they have to prove before people buy in.
Really well said. Mike Gill, thanks for joining the show.
See you, everybody.